What Biden did is he ended our policies, went to his policies. He doesn't have a policy. Some lunatic around the desk had a policy. Whoever operated the Autopen had a policy, which is, by the way, I think the biggest scandal. That's the scandal they should be talking about, not Jeffrey Epstein.
You know what, guys? Donald Trump is just crashing out. And how do we know that he's crashing out? Because during his Oval Office meeting with the Prime Minister of Bahrain, he was trying to divert attention away from the Jeffrey Epstein story, but instead, it became one of the main topics of conversation that he continued to go on and on and on about. And the crazy part about the whole thing is that Donald Trump is normally pretty good at controlling the narrative. He's normally pretty good at getting the MAGA base to fall in line to talk about what he wants to talk about. But as we discussed in our video yesterday, the MAGA base is breaking away from him on this issue, and they're demanding accountability for the Jeffrey Epstein story. So it's really fascinating to watch Donald Trump crashing out in the Oval Office, because effectively what he is doing is creating the biggest Streisand Effect that we've probably ever seen. And before we go ahead and jump into those clips, I also wanted to show you this, because this is something that really should concern us all. Here Donald Trump is threatening the Fed chair once again in an escalated attack. If you guys do appreciate my work, please do remember to subscribe.
Are you completely ruling out the idea of firing Jerome Powell?
I don't rule out anything, but I think it's highly unlikely unless he has to leave for fraud. I mean, it's possible there's fraud involved with the $2.7 billion renovation. This is a renovation. How do you spend $2.7 billion? And he didn't have proper clearance, et cetera, et cetera. So you know that's going on. So there could be something to that, but I think he's not doing a good job. He's got a very easy job to do. You know what he has to do? Lower interest rates.
Yeah, so as you guys may know, Donald Trump has been looking for any way he can to get under Jerome Powell's skin. He wants to pressure Jerome Powell to lower the interest rates. It's something that he has been whining about since he came into the Oval Office. And now he is escalating those attacks, saying that, oh, well, he might have to leave for fraud, guys. He oversaw this project that was way over budget, and that seems pretty fraudulent to me. Because normally, the Fed chair is not a position that the president can just fire. They need some sort of cause to be able to do that. Now, this is an absolutely terrible idea for a number of different reasons, and the markets are already starting to react to this. But we do not want a president of the United States that has a lackey sitting in the Fed who is going to lower or raise interest rates based on Donald Trump's whims. We already know that Donald Trump is an absolute buffoon. He has implemented these tariffs that has injected so much uncertainty into our markets that is why the Fed isn't lowering rates already. And we do not want somebody as stupid as Donald Trump to have his finger on the scale when it comes to monetary policy. We've seen it in history over and over and over again. This is a terrible, terrible idea. It could have huge ramifications for the entire country, for the entire economy. Now, he says here that, oh, I don't think it's very likely, but further reporting suggests that he is very serious about firing Jerome Powell. Like I said, this is something we need to keep an eye on and something that each and every one of us should be concerned about. Let's go ahead and move on to Donald Trump crashing out a little bit, saying that, you know what, maybe you guys should focus on Biden and the Autopen instead of Jeffrey Epstein.
Inflation. What Biden did is he ended our policies, went to his policies. He doesn't have a policy. Some lunatic around the desk had a policy. Whoever operated the Autopen had a policy, which is, by the way, I think the biggest scandal. That's the scandal they should be talking about, not Jeffrey Epstein. The scandal you should be talking about is the Autopen, because I think it's the biggest scandal, one of them in American history.
Very, very convincing stuff. I really just don't understand why Donald Trump continues to try to push this conspiracy. Pretending that Joe Biden was so out of his mind that anything done with the Autopen needs to be revoked. It needs to be taken back because he just had no idea what was going on. But then he, in the same sentence, says that's the biggest hoax or biggest scandal you guys need to focus on. Don't worry about this Jeffrey Epstein stuff over here. That's no big deal. We need to focus on Biden. Donald Trump is just making himself seem more and more and more guilty as the days go on when it pertains to this Jeffrey Epstein file stuff. Look, Trump and Epstein were friends for decades. Okay? Everybody knows that. He's probably all over the so-called Jeffrey Epstein files. There's no definitive client list that anybody has provided any proof of, so it doesn't mean that Donald Trump was engaged in the same illicit activity as Jeffrey Epstein. But he could make things so much easier for himself if he came out and said, yeah, he was a friend back in the day. As soon as I found out that he was engaged in these horrific acts with minors, I cut that friendship off, and I apologize. He could have made it so much easier for himself. Instead, he's like bringing up every issue under the sun to try to divert attention away from the issue. I mean, you couldn't make yourself sound more guilty than he currently is, which is just a huge mistake on Trump's part because, as we discussed, I don't think this issue is going away anytime soon when it comes to the MAGA base. He goes on to really try to put an emphasis on how this whole Jeffrey Epstein files thing is a hoax.
Will you ask Attorney General Pam Bondi to release more documents to finally put this controversy to bed?
Yeah, whatever's credible, she can release. If a document is credible, if a document's there that is credible, she can release. I think it's good. But it's just a subject. He's dead. He's gone, and all it is the Republicans. Certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats, and they're following a Democrat playbook. And no different than Russia, and all the other hoaxes. They're started by the Democrats, and some Republicans, in this case I was surprised, but they got duped.
But how
Does anybody believe this shit? I mean, I don't think even MAGA folks are buying this nonsense. What does it mean that this is a Democratic hoax? Like Russia, that was a hoax. That was a hoax. That was a hoax. Jeffrey Epstein, it's a hoax. This is what Donald Trump does. He tries to brand everything as some sort of hoax, some sort of deep state conspiracy, but he is the one who is involved here. Jeffrey Epstein died under Trump's watch back in his first term. He had all of the ability in the world to release whatever he wanted to. He had the ability to air everything out so MAGA could see what is true and what wasn't true. But Donald Trump didn't do anything. didn't do anything about that. And now he wants to blame Democrats as though this was something concocted by Obama or Comey or a whole bunch of different names he has been floating around, trying to sell the idea that this was all made up by the Democrats. It just makes absolutely no sense because all of this was going on in his first term. And you'll notice what he did there. He's asked, well, is Pam Bondi going to release any more of the documents? And what does he say? He says she can release anything credible that she wants to. That word credible is giving Donald Trump plausible deniability for anything that happens in the future. Another tried and true tactic from Donald Trump. That way, when she doesn't release anything, well, there was no credible evidence to release. And if she does release something, or if somebody else releases something in the future, he can just pawn it off as being uncredible. This guy, he is an absolute disaster on this issue. And I am just enjoying the hell out of myself watching MAGA rip each other to shreds. I'm enjoying Donald Trump floundering on this issue like we probably haven't seen before. I'm all here for it, and I hope it continues. He goes on to say that we've got way bigger problems, guys, than this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing.
First of all, your high-ranking officials, whether it's been your FBI director or Pam Bondi, they have made some inconsistent statements in the past. You've had...
Well, I don't know. I can't speak about him, but I can say that Pam Bondi, I really think that she's done very good. She says, I gave you all the credible information. And if she finds any more credible information, she'll give that too. What more can she do than that? I mean, honestly, what more can she do? And we do have bigger problems. You know, we have problems with millions of illegal people that came in here, and they're killers and murderers. We have 11,888 murderers that were allowed into our country by Biden, sleepy Joe Biden, stupid Joe Biden. He allowed them into our country. And you know what? We got to do something about it. She's got a lot of things she's working on.
Sleepy Joe Biden, stupid Joe Biden. We got so many other things that we need to worry about. Nothing to see here. No, we don't need to worry about this Jeffrey Epstein stuff. We need to worry about all these illegals that came into the country under the Biden administration. They're a whole bunch of killers. He is floundering like we have never seen before. And to bring it back to immigration is also just a terrible, terrible idea. Donald Trump is underwater on the whole immigration policy stuff right now. He is, like I said, I am just enjoying the hell out of myself watching this dude really struggling to gain his footing, gain his traction. He seems like an aimless puppy running into fences. Like, it's just so entertaining. He's right to say that there are probably more important things than the whole Jeffrey Epstein file thing. But the problem is, he is the one that stoked these conspiracies for so long. Like we talked about yesterday, the MAGA base is built on a conspiratorial worldview that alleges there's a deep state, a deep cabal of pedophiles that is somehow running the country and they're getting away with it. And now Donald Trump is the one at the helm. He is the deep state he has been complaining about. He's replaced all of the top officials with his people. And now that his base is demanding accountability and he's got nothing to show for it, I mean, he's really put himself into quite a bind. And now he is even coming out and saying that maybe the people who don't believe me now, well, maybe I don't like them as much anymore, which is quite a wild admission.
This morning, you mentioned past supporters when you were talking about the Epstein issue. Does that mean that you're effectively disowning any supporters who are now
I lost a lot of faith in certain people, yeah. I lost, because they got duped by the Democrats. The Democrats are good for nothing. They've done a terrible job. They almost destroyed our country. If I didn't get elected, all these numbers you're hearing about, they found $25 billion and another 25 is coming in and hundreds of billions of dollars is pouring into our country. And we just got the biggest tax cut in history. We just got the biggest regulation cuts in history. There'll be no tax on tips. There'll be no tax on Social Security. There'll be no tax on overtime. There'll be no tax on so many other things.
On so many other things, guys. No taxes. No tax on tips. No tax on Social Security. That's a lie. No tax on overtime. So many other things. But did you hear what he said at the beginning there? He said, what about all these supporters who say that they need some accountability for the whole Jeffrey Epstein files? And he says, well, I think I've lost faith in those people. He's talking about his own MAGA base. The people who are not falling in line, people like Charlie Kirk, who have fallen in line, the people who aren't following the MAGA into this darkness, into this, contrived message about Jeffrey Epstein, well, Donald Trump doesn't want anything to do with them. He's losing faith in those people because now that they are demanding accountability and he is unable to provide it to them, and they are just unwilling to go along with this because it's one of the foundational beliefs of some of these MAGA folks, he's really just shooting himself in the foot. He's now going after his own supporters for not falling in line. I mean, this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing has blown up probably to an extent that most people didn't necessarily expect, didn't necessarily see coming. And it is fascinating to watch how an issue like this, so branded in conspiracy, so branded in the Trump view of the world, is now ripping this movement apart. And like I said, I am here for it day in and day out. We need to continue to egg on this fight. We need to continue to try to hold Donald Trump accountable for this shit. Over the past couple of days, Republicans blocked the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. I mean, what is there to say about that? You're trying to say that, oh, these people, they just got duped by the Democrats, but Democrats were the ones voting for full transparency here. They're saying, yeah, release the files, release the documents around this Jeffrey Epstein story, and the Republicans blocked it, just making Donald Trump look more and more guilty. As he sits here in the Oval Office, trying to divert attention away, he's trying to talk about everything else under the sun, trying to say that this is a scandal, but the Jeffrey Epstein files aren't. He's shooting himself in the foot, and we need to continue to exploit this issue because a frayed MAGA movement is good for this country. So, I will leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that subscribe button, the like button, ring that little notification bell. I am a young, new creator, and I could use all the support that I could get. We are trying to build something here on the left that pushes back against this right-wing media ecosystem that just launders all of these conspiratorial beliefs day in and day out. So if you're looking to support a new creator or young creator pushing back against this MAGA media machine, be sure to smash that subscribe button. And if you guys want a further breakdown of why this issue is so important to the MAGA movement, I think the video that I published yesterday, I think does a pretty good job of hitting the highlights of Pizzagate, QAnon, and the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. It really just kind of ties it all together to look at the foundation of conspiratorial beliefs that this MAGA movement is built on. So that video should appear on the screen now. Otherwise, guys, I will see you on the next one.